The 2021 title fight between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen is already certain to go down as a classic Formula 1 season. The two rivals have traded wins all season long, their tempers have flared with clashes on and off the track, and we've seen them both fight back from major setbacks, not least the carnage of the first lap last time out in Hungary. With 12 races left to run, this is the first time in Max Verstappen's young career that he is fighting for a world championship at this level, whereas Lewis Hamilton has been there and done it so many times, as you would expect from a 7-time world champion. And there is a particular trait of Hamilton's that always comes out when he is in a close title fight like the one he is experiencing this year, and that is that he comes out in crushing form after the mid-season break. This is particularly evident in his battles with teammate Nico Rosberg in 2014 and 2015, and against Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari in 2017 and 2018. Today's video we're going to take a look at how important the races after the mid-season break were in those seasons, and what Verstappen can learn from that in his chase of a first world championship. First up, we're going to have a look at the intra-team battle at Mercedes in 2014 and 2015. When the Formula 1 paddock arrived in Belgium after the summer break in 2014, Lewis Hamilton trailed his teammate Nico Rosberg by 11 points in the championship. The German's lead grew to 29 points that weekend when the two collided on the first lap of the race, with Rosberg finishing second despite receiving a penalty for clipping Hamilton's rear wheel at Lecombe and forcing him to retire. With only 7 races left to go and over a win's worth of points in hand, things were looking pretty rosy for Rosberg in 2014, but what followed was an imperious run of form for Hamilton, taking 6 wins in the final 7 races, including 5 wins in a row from the Italian Grand Prix in September to the US Grand Prix in November. By the end of the season, he turned a 29-point deficit into a 67-point lead, albeit with a little help from the double points finale in Abu Dhabi. Unfortunately for Nico Rosberg, Hamilton would deploy exactly the same form in the second half of the season in 2015 as well. Roles were reversed when we arrived in Spa in 2015, with Hamilton leading Rosberg this time by 21 points. Having outscored Hamilton in the 6 races before the break, Rosberg went into the second half of the season hopeful that he could close that gap down in the remaining races. Unfortunately, any chance he had of winning the title were quickly put to bed. Hamilton set the tone for what was to come in Spa by outqualifying his teammate by around half a second, before going on to win 5 of the next 6 races and only dropping points because of a mechanical failure in Singapore. He clinched the title in Austin with 3 races to spare, and at that point had an 80-point lead over Nico Rosberg in the championship. To put that into context, 80 points is over 3 wins worth that he won the championship by. For those 2 seasons, a close championship battle had turned into a rout by the end of the season, all because of the form that Lewis put in after the mid-season break. Rosberg of course was able to put that defeat behind him. After throwing the second place cap back at Hamilton and Austin, he went on to win the next 3 races and then the championship in 2016. But we're going to cover that season in a little bit more detail later on, and for now skip ahead to 2017 and 18 and the battles with Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari. 2017 was the first season in the hybrid era when a team other than Mercedes had a chance to win the championship. Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel were genuine challengers with a genuinely competitive car. The former dominant constructor coming to the fore to challenge Mercedes and a friendly rivalry turned bitter, it's easy to draw parallels between the 2017 season and the 2021 season. At the halfway stage in 2017, Sebastian Vettel appeared to be on the way to giving Ferrari a first Drivers' Championship since Kimi Raikkonen's win in 2007. Vettel had just won the Hungarian Grand Prix and held a 14-point advantage when the championship resumed once again in Belgium. However, this lead would not last, and once again Hamilton was in imperious form after the mid-season break. In just 6 races, he managed to turn that 14-point deficit into an insurmountable 66-point lead. This included another run of 5 wins in 6 races following the mid-season break, and was helped by disastrous retirements for Vettel in both Singapore and Japan. Hamilton's consistency and Vettel's no scores meant the title was wrapped up in Mexico, and Ferrari were left licking their wounds and hoping for more the following season. Ferrari produced a car capable of challenging Mercedes again in 2018, but this time Vettel ended up 24 points behind Hamilton at the season break. Ferrari could and should have been closer to Hamilton at the mid-season stage, but Vettel made a string of costly mistakes earlier in the season, such as a lock-up in Baku, a coming together with Verstappen in China, and crashing out of the lead of his home race at Hockenheim in slippery conditions. Despite the cracks starting to show, Ferrari still had every chance of getting back on top. Vettel had taken a rare win away from Hamilton at Silverstone 2 races earlier, and he returned in good form with a win at Spa. Fortunately for Ferrari, it all went wrong again at this critical stage of the season, and Hamilton took full advantage. The reigning champion again closed out the season in fine form, taking 6 wins in 8 races to close out the season and win the championship, while Vettel made a string of errors and didn't stand on the top step of the podium again until Singapore the following year. He ended the 2018 season 88 points behind the now 5-time champion Hamilton, who once again showed that he could take his form to another level in the second half of the season. So how can Max Verstappen stop this from happening in 2021? For Verstappen to become the first non-Mercedes drivers' champion in the hybrid era, he has to prevent history from repeating itself, and it is no mean feat when you're up against a 7-time world champion. But if there is a chink in Hamilton's armour, it may be found in his 2016 championship defeat to Nico Rosberg. Of all of the closely fought battles we've seen from Hamilton in the hybrid era, the only one where he didn't win the championship was against Rosberg that season in 2016. That year, he didn't have the luck or momentum at the key stage of the season. It was Rosberg who put together a run of 4 wins in 5 races, from Belgium to Japan, the traditional period where Hamilton hits top form. That season, Hamilton could only manage a 2nd and 3 third places. Reliability did play a big part, but it also stopped Hamilton from getting into the same unstoppable rhythm that he had the previous 2 seasons. And when he did hit top form, by winning the last 4 races of the season, it was too little too late, and Rosberg clinched the title in dramatic fashion in Abu Dhabi. Going to be critical for Verstappen to disrupt Hamilton's momentum and confidence over the next few races. We know he has the potential to do that from his dominance earlier in the season, but he will just need a little bit more luck than he's had in the last few races. He can take confidence from the fact that when he has dropped points, it's been mostly through no fault of his own, such as the tyre failure in Baku or being collected on the first lap in Hungary. Hamilton and Mercedes, on the other hand, have made some uncharacteristic mistakes, such as Hamilton's off in Imola when chasing down Verstappen and his lock-up at the final restart in Baku. They also got lucky in the dramatic collision on the first lap at Silverstone and when they didn't change to dries when the race resumed in Hungary. Overall, the Hamilton-Mercedes pairing hasn't quite looked as bulletproof as it has in previous years. When he was up against Rosberg and against Vettel, it was the opposition making mistakes, whereas this season we have seen a lot more mistakes from Hamilton's side of the garage. We should also bear in mind the rule change of 2022, which is looming over the heads of all teams. Mercedes will be unable to outdevelop their rivals this season, as they'll have to keep a focus on 2022. This was a major factor in their wins against Ferrari, that they were able to outdevelop them over the course of the season. But this year we should see Red Bull and Mercedes remain relatively close, as they won't be bringing any updates for the rest of the season. So while the past may suggest that Hamilton is the clear favourite, history doesn't always repeat itself, and it's up to Verstappen and Red Bull to take the fight to Hamilton in a way that Rosberg and Vettel often couldn't in the second half of the season, and I think this is going to be key. They need to make sure they're disrupting that confidence of Hamilton before he can get up and running, because as we've seen from the past, it's very difficult to stop him when he gets on a winning run in the final few races. So what do you think? Will Hamilton take that record-breaking 8th championship, or will Verstappen be the man to finally dethrone Mercedes? Let us know your thoughts by leaving a comment, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content just like this one.